offer an invocation. I do want to say that the mayor is on the way, so he'll be here in a little while. We will wait for him to get here. But I will go ahead and do an invocation, if you will, and then we can go ahead and fellowship and communicate and go from there. Let us pray. Our Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for a brand new day, a day that we've never seen before. We thank you for all the blessings that you've already given us. Go with us as we carry on this meeting. We pray that the things we do and say will be pleasing in your sight. We ask these things and all things in Jesus' name I do pray. Amen. Okay, he should be here in a little while. I'm understanding he was not an accident, but there was an accident on the highway. So we're glad that he wasn't involved, and hopefully those that were in an accident made it through okay. So again, if we would wait for a little while, and we'll go ahead and get started. So go ahead and communicate and fellowship. Thank you for coming.
being tardy. It's one thing makes you not want to move to Raleigh when you come back to Roanoke Rapids. I understand that Mayor Pro Tem has called the meeting to order, offering an invocation at this time. He has already done so. So item 2 on the agenda for this afternoon is turn it over to the city attorney for consideration of an offer to purchase for the Roanoke Rapids Theater. Attorney Davis.
So we have received a offer. Sorry, let's try that again. So I received an offer on behalf of a group including Weldon Mills that you'll see was part of your packet on May 17th, 2023. They are the same group that had proposed the lease agreement that council gave us some feedback on at the last meeting last week. And before, as I was formulating and constructing a response to their attorney, basically outlining what the feedback that council had given regarding that lease agreement, we got this offer from them. And so the important part of the offer is that it is for $1.5 million cash offer, no financing. They would pay cash for the theater, and there were some other things in their initial offer, and I actually spoke with Bill White, who is their attorney, and so he transmitted a newer or a revised offer this morning, and you will see that following this. That's the letter dated May 22nd. And so basically what that outlines is that makes reference to 160A-269, which is the general statute that governs this process. If council entertains this offer or one like it. And in that process, if council accepts an offer such as this, the purchaser has to deposit 5% of whatever that offer is. So you'll notice in the original agreement there's various different pieces about depositing $5,000 here and then $25,000 here. That's really not relevant to this process. What matters is that they've made a $1.5 million cash offer. If the council were to vote to accept that today, or another offer, and I'm going to get to that in a second. There's a reason I'm qualifying it that way, but let's go ahead and cover all these bases. If council were to accept that, then that would trigger an obligation on the purchaser to deposit 5% of the purchase price with the city. And then once that amount is deposited, that triggers a 10-day upset bid period process. And so then other interested buyers could come in and bid during that period. They would also have to deposit 5% of their bid, and of course the statute does list what the increased bids have to be. That is, it can't be where somebody does if the council accepted 1.5 million, somebody can't come in and bid 1.5 million and one. It's going to have to be a little higher than that. Like I said, there's a formula in the statute, and I think the city manager has run those numbers for us. So that's kind of the purpose of that was the original purpose and the purpose of the meeting today. It's a little bit more complicated than that, as things tend to be when you're dealing with property of this magnitude. This afternoon, the city received a second offer to purchase. And so that has also been given to council this afternoon. That is from a group in New Jersey called the Victor Enterprises. I spoke with the leader of that group, the president of that group. I'm not sure in his exact title, but Victor Freeman, and several other individuals that are involved in that today. and told them that we've received it and that I feel like that myself and the city manager have an obligation to put that forward to the council as well. That offer is for, and again, this has just come in this afternoon. And so the city manager and I have, in addition to everything else that we've been kind of juggling, and in addition to me talking with them, we've had very little time to review it. But the core part of it is that their proposal is for $1.75 million. Okay? And so there's some other language in here that, much like the, and it may be, I don't know, but it could very well be that since local media posted the other group, and I'll call it the Weldon Mills group just for simplicity's sake, that offer from last week, I think that maybe they kind of tracked along with some of that language, and so I explained to them the same thing that I explained to Mr. White this morning, which is under the statutes, if council were to accept their offer of $1.75 million tonight, that they would be obligated to deposit 5% of that offer down, and then same scenario, triggers the upset bid process, and anybody can submit an upset bid. They have to pay down, as part of that, they have to pay the 5% deposit, and that continues on until, that we kind of reach some closure on that. But so that's the new thing that has come up. Two, as council knows, as of right now, if council takes no action tonight, there is currently a auction scheduled to begin on govdeals.com, and that is scheduled to begin May 25th, Thursday, May 25th, so Thursday of this week. And so, and there is, Mr. Stewart is here from GovDeals to talk to council. I'll let him kind of identify and kind of yield to him in a second, so council can kind of hear from him. I think so there's several different options here. I realize that it's it feels like it's kind of a rushed thing, and the truth of the matter is council doesn't have to take any action. You can proceed with the auction as is. Council could choose to postpone everything. I will say to council that at least with the offer from Weldon Mills, the 1.5, they do say that the offer is, let's see, and I'm trying to find that in the new one. I know that in the original offer, their offer was contingent upon the council agreeing not to, in effect, cancel or postpone the auction of the property. And I'm just not putting my eyes on it, but so yes.
Sorry, did you say not to?
That's the 7th. Yes. So, yes, so in their letter from the 17th, if this proposal is not accepted prior to the commencement of the online advertising of the premises for this sale, this proposal terminates automatically. And so, does that mean, so that means that would cancel that offer if we allowed the auction to begin. Now, does that mean that, they're not still going to be interested? I don't know. But that's something that they put in their offer as is, and I know I think everyone on council knows Attorney White, knows how long he's been in practice, and knows that he would have advised them, and certainly he and I had the discussion that even if council does accept their offer, that will trigger a 10-day upset bid period. So, there still has to be some competitive bidding in the process. Trying to think if I left anything out. At the end of the day, the final, I guess the final thing is whether we do a hang on one moment. I want to make sure. And so too, the other thing to kind of keep in mind is, that's the page I couldn't find. I left my notes when I walked out of the office this afternoon. It's been that kind of day. But the other thing to keep in mind is that regardless of whether council goes through the auction process or whether council goes through this process and goes through the upset bid period process, is at the end of the day, when everything is closed, whichever avenue you use to try to dispose of the theater, council can decide to reject all bids or to accept the highest bid. Okay? So I know that question was probably going to come up at some point. So that's kind of all I have. I don't know if it would be worthwhile before I'm sure there are questions. I can entertain those now, or we can let Mr. Stewart kind of talk about gov deals.
I do have one question on clarity on your last statement.
Sure.
If you would cover that again, that council have a process of accepting, say that again, or cancel.
So regardless of which of these processes you follow, and really there's two kind of before you right now, that is, either you accept one of the offers and you deposit the 5% and then go through the upset bid process, or you continue with the auction as planned. In either one of those options, at the end of everything, the highest bid the bids will come to City Council, and it will be City Council's decision to either accept the highest bid or to reject all bids.
Okay. Yeah.
So there's still a final
Right.
up or down.
Sure.
You don't get to select between the different bids at that point, but it's up or down.
What does the council want to do? Would we like to hear information from the gentleman on gov deal, or continue asking questions of the city attorney?
I got some questions for the attorney, but I can listen to the gov deal first.
Yes, sir. Would you like to come to the podium and just state your name, and we look forward to hearing your comments.
Good afternoon to the council, other members. Thank you for having me here. I appreciate it. My name is Jim Stewart, and I am the manager at Gov Deals. And I came down to talk about what we have.
This is mic
touch
on
your
there?
mic, that little button is on. Okay.
Okay.
Hello? Test. Test, test. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Okay.
Okay.
I just want to record it.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jim Stewart. I'm with Gov Deals, and I've come to talk about the process that we've been going through to help you sell that theater. Back in April, we embarked on an agreement for a plan to sell that theater, and we've been following those plans. We have been advertising that property. It has been out on several different venues online for YouTube and land.com and go to auction, and we have MLS listings already out for it. As of this morning, there were 12,300 unique visitors that have come to look at your auction. And when I say unique visitors, that means these are all individuals. They haven't been there twice. This is how many people have come to look at your auction. There were 96 watchers. These are people that are extremely interested and they want to see where this auction goes, and they're planning on bidding on it. So we've got quite a bit of interest, and we've only been working for 30 days on this. There's another 34 days to go. We're really happy that you got some offers, but we'd like to see them put that offer on GovDeals and drive the competition. We think you can get a lot more money for this. And by putting those on GovDeals, it will up the ante and create that competition. You have the same opportunities as the attorney said on our site. You can accept it, you can decline it. If one of these bidders has the highest bid at the end of the auction on GovDeals, then they will win that auction and get that property if approved by you.
You ready for some questions?
I am.
I'll just ask one first. If you had two bidders, and let's say one bid $2 million, and one comes and upsets the bid with $2.2 million, we've had a lot of discussion about not wanting to do owner financing. So if the $2.2 million, I mean, are you putting anything like that in the information for bidders to see, or do they not know that until they get to that point? And then they say, oh, they're, okay.
The bid will automatically increase as they go along. It will continue to increase, and the auction will continue to go on until the bidding stops, and we have reached a high bidder.
You didn't answer my question. We don't want to award, I mean, I think I'm speaking for a conversation we've had. We pretty much have been told by our lien holders or mortgage company or whatever, for lack of a better word, that probably owner financing would not be in our best interest, would not work for us. So in the essence of time, if we had a cash bid for $2 million, and then someone else comes along with a higher bid, but they want owner financing, we pretty much, I think we're not leaning towards going that way.
No.
So what if we accepted that bid? We don't want to lose a cash bid.
Right, so all of the bids that we receive, when the auction is over, the requirements are that they pay a down payment on that. I believe it's another 5%. And then there's before they are given the title to the property, there is another percentage that they have to put down. And there's no financing involved here by you all or those that own that property.
Okay, all right.
Mr. Stewart, I think one of the questions is that if someone bids on GovDeals on their website, or on the website for GovDeals, what kind of security, as far as them being able to follow through with the payment, I guess, is there? So if there's any stipulation from the bidder as far as, well, you know, this bid is subject to me actually being able to get my money together and pay.
So, like most deposits, that deposit that they put down, the $5,000 that they put down to bid, that's forfeited.
And Mr. Stewart, I thank you for being here today, number one. But something, and I know the answer to this, but I'm asking this for the benefit of the public and also for council, who probably already know the answer to. But all of the upset bid process, deposits, all of that stuff, when you go through the auction as it's on right now, pursuant to the resolution from April.
Yes.
All of that is done by GovDeals, correct?
That's correct.
So none of that money comes to the city at that time. You administer all of that process.
That's correct.
Okay, I just wanted to make that clear.
And I do want to add too, because when we talk about upset bids and an upset bid process, for an electronic auction, the upset bid process is not required. So at the conclusion of the electronic auction, right now is scheduled to conclude on June the 26th, you would present to the city the highest bid.
That's correct.
And that would be presented to the city council to either accept or reject. So there is no 10-day additional period required. Now, under the upset bid process for the conveyance of property, once the council accepts, you pass a resolution to accept a bid, they submit the 5% of their bid offer. We can't start advertising the 10-day upset period until we've received their bid deposit, and by statute, it has to be 5%. So the 10 days, that clock wouldn't start until then, and then you have to continue to go through the process of having an upset process until you have no more additional bids that were considered qualifying upset bids. So just wanted to differentiate that with the online auction as far as an upset process or not.
So for clarity, even though it comes from Gov Deal, once it gets back to council, that upset bid process will still be in place.
No. No.
After the 5% is
If
given,
it goes
if you
through
accept
Gov
it.
Deals, then when Gov Deals is done on June 26th, or whatever it is, when the auction closes, the bids come to us, and council has a choice. You either accept the highest bid, or you reject all bids, and if you accept the highest bid, it's done at that point.
Okay.
There's no upset bid process at that point. And you can kind of think about it, if you kind of step back from it, and you kind of think about it from more of a abstract position, the whole purpose behind this is to make sure that there's competitive, that you get a competitive price for city property. And so when you do it, when you accept a traditional offer, and I'm getting some feedback, but when you accept a traditional offer like this, the only way you do that is through the upset bid process. When
Okay.
you do an auction, that competitive bidding is part of the whole auction framework. So that's why at the end of the auction, you don't have to go through that as well.
Okay, and I would like a clarification on all bids, meaning that that bid didn't necessarily have to come from Gov Deal. It's the highest bid, period, out there.
Well, couple thoughts. And so I'm gonna kind of answer your question. I'm gonna kind of take some different routes to kind of get there. So, number one, I think council would probably accept whatever the highest amount is.
Okay.
The highest qualified bid. That's what I expect. Whatever forum that kind of comes about. But if it goes through auction on Gov Deals, at the end of the time period, whatever comes out of that, council can reject all bids. And so but I'm getting to what you're saying.
Okay.
So if we got a bid outside of that,
Okay.
at that point, so they're on if you have Gov Deals over here and then we get a bid outside of that, council can look at that bid and said, well, that's higher than what's in Gov Deals.
Right.
We can reject all the bids and we can accept the other one. If we do that though, okay, we're going to have to go back. Then that would trigger an upset bid process because that happened outside of the public auction context. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. And so more than likely, if council, I don't know why somebody would, and this is what I was trying to get to, I think kind of thinking through the different pieces, I'm not seeing a logical reason why somebody would offer some kind of higher bid outside of the auction process if it's already in the auction process, because all that's going to do is trigger a new upset bid period. But
I'm saying all that to say it based on what I see before me that you just got today. Or we just got today.
yes,
And that's why I made that question to you.
and I will say, and it wasn't told to me in confidence, so I don't see any problem saying it. One of the things that Mr. Freeman's group, I think it was his maybe vice president, said to me, she said, well, we were watching the auction and we were planning on submitting a bid. And so that was something that was communicated to me from them. So, like I say, I do want to make clear that the offer that was presented by Weldon Mills, that I believe by its terms that would end if it if the auction goes forward, is they would withdraw that. Now, I don't know whether they would submit an actual bid. I don't know. And, I don't know whether if the auction were to go forward on Gov Deals, I don't know whether the Victor Enterprises, Victor Freeman, I don't know whether he would submit a bid. Like I say, I can only rely on what they've told me, which is that that's what they were planning. So.
Mr. Stewart, in case a situation like that came about, your auction closed, you got a bid, next day an outside bid comes in, and we haven't, I don't guess we have to do it within like 10 hours, do we? I mean, how long do we have to accept your bid, your bids that come in? A day or two?
The high bid, yeah, it's
Okay.
usually 48 hours after our high bid comes in.
And what my question was, I believe that the buyer was paid the fee, the premium to you, whatever that fee was.
That's correct.
So do you have a clause in your contract that says if we sold it to someone outside of the Gov Deals that we may still be obligated to pay you? Because that's a reason that somebody could do something like that to avoid paying. It's like on a real estate, sell a house. They usually got a time frame in there.
Right. And so when bidders have seen it on Gov Deals due to our marketing and our promotion, that's when, it's a requirement that, it's still owed to us because they found this due to our work.
So you have, I assume that information. Okay.
What is your fee?
Pardon me?
What is your fee?
The buyer pays 5%, you pay nothing.
5% on the buyer side.
What is the minimum, has a minimum amount been established for starting the auction?
Yeah, $750,000.
That's what I thought.
If I could interject, going back to one of the last questions that was asked, if you look, and I think that this School of Government Carolina Blue and White page has been circulated to you, and I'm looking specifically at there's a page number down there, 2 of 7. If you look at that top part on step 4, once Gov Deals, they don't have it, okay. Well, once Gov Deals reports the highest bid to the board, to the city council, that bid must be accepted. Well, that highest bid must be accepted, or all bids rejected within 30 days of the bid being reported. So there is a time limit. Council couldn't just sit on it forever. It would be 30 days that council would have to meet and decide to accept that. Yes, that's it. It's that top part right there. Okay.
Can the upset bid be part of Gov Deals?
Yes.
I'm talking about this right here, what we're talking about.
The two offers, after our auction is over and you have the two outside bids and you need to go to the upset bid,
Now, I'm talking about doing the auction. Can it be added into the?
yes.
Can it be added into the auction part of it?
Yes, they just have to go online and place their deposit and their bids. It's about a 5-minute process to register online, and you send your wire transfer for your deposit, and they can bid. And they can bid for those 2 days, 26 and 27, or 25 and 26 in June. I forget which 2 days those are.
It's May the 25th through June the 26th.
There you go.
And so I'm not sure that was, Councilman Smith, was your question that if the council, ignoring the auction for a second, if council agreed to accept one of these offers that has been tendered to it, was your question if Gov Deals could do the 10-day upset bid period through
Right.
that?
Yeah. If we accept one of these offers, can the upset bid, can the upset bid come through Gov Deal?
Yes.
Okay. Within that 10-day period, though?
we already would have the deposits that were made during the regular time period, and so all of those people that placed their deposits would be able to bid during that 10-day period.
You mentioned something earlier, if I may, saying that how we may be able to get a little more money out of it. What was your comment on that?
By what he just mentioned, putting those bids, those offers that you have, having those people bid online and creating the competition with the other people that are going to bid. If they're bidding outside and if they bid outside, they're not creating that competition on Gov Deals while that auction is going on. So there are going to be others bidding as well as these two offers.
If I'm understanding correctly, the two offers that we have will be put in on Gov Deals at, no?
Not unless they want to.
Not unless they want to do that, or unless you make them, require them to do that.
Okay.
And then we would continue on with their bids on Gov Deals and take all the rest of the bids through the period. If they are the highest bidder, then they would win the auction.
And Mr. Stewart, for clarification too, once the auction closes on June the 26th at 9 o'clock and your highest bidder, when do they have to actually complete a wire transfer? Or what is the time frame that they have to set up their wire transfer for the funds or forfeit their highest offer? Is that, or do they submit just the 5% deposit amount?
Right now, they're going to deposit the 5%, and then there's another percentage. I don't have that in front of me.
Okay.
So just for clarity purposes, I'm sorry. So when council decides to continue with the auction at Gov Deals, okay, auction period opens up, and I'm first bidder, and I come in and say, I want to put in a bid on this property. And before you can take my bid, and before that's a valid bid, they have to deposit down the 5%, right?
They have to put $5,000 down.
$5,000, okay.
$5,000 down, and then they are allowed to bid.
Okay. And then new bidder comes in, they have to put down the same amount?
That's correct.
Okay, I just looked at it on the website. It says if you are the winning bidder of the asset and you fail to pay per the terms and conditions, you will be in default, and the following will occur. 1, you will forfeit your bid deposit in its entirety. 2, Gov Deals account will be locked. And 3, you'll be subject to a fee of 40% of the sold amount of the asset as a default fee. So there are consequences.
You need to pull that mic a little bit closer to you.
Okay, I'm getting feedback on it, so what I was saying is that there are consequences to the online bidding process if the highest bidder does not follow through per the terms and conditions. So it says in here on the website right now on our listing, if you are the winning bidder of the asset and you fail to pay per the terms and conditions, you will be in default, and the following will occur. 1, you will forfeit your bid deposit in its entirety. Number 2, your Gov Deals account will be locked. And number 3, you will be subject to a fee of 40% of the sold amount of the asset as a default fee. So my interpretation of this is that anyone who's going to be actively, seriously bidding on this property is not going to want to experience those consequences. So I assume there's a fairly high confidence level that whoever the high bidder ends up being, and if the city council were to accept it, that more than likely that deal would come to fruition outside of any other terms and conditions.
That is the purpose of having that amount for the deposit. We want serious bidders.
Mr. Davis, on the Victor Enterprise offer, is that a cash offer?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And so if With both of the offers that have been presented, and so I say offers to kind of distinguish them from the auction. So with both of the offers that have been presented, if council were to accept them, you would accept the amount upon deposit of the 5% as required by statute. And then what would happen is during that period and then we'd go through the upset bid process. Once the upset bid process closed, it would come back before council. Council would vote to approve it. If council approved it, then at that point we would draft and execute a contract for the sale. Just like you would any kind of real estate property, there would be a real estate contract, and then following that, ultimately a deed that gets recorded. So yes, that those would both be cash offers.
I think I heard it a little while ago. I'm going to ask it again, though, just to make sure I heard it right. In the event we said today, we do not want to go through Gov Deal, is there a fee there, period?
Do we charge a fee if
If
you
we
decide not to use us?
If we said today? Okay. No fee whatsoever?
fee.
Okay,
There's never a fee for you.
okay.
We kind of had a little bit of a dilemma. First, we had no interest, it seemed like, and then we got interest, and we found out we couldn't do some of the things that we might be asked to do, and so we looked at other alternatives, and now we got difficulty in dealing with which one we want to go with. So that's why I'm glad I don't have to vote. But anyway, as the city attorney said, we can take no action, or we can start the upset bid process, or we can stay with Gov Deal.
So I've tried to, in my efforts to kind of make this as simple as I can and still kind of articulate the different options to council, I've tried to basically kind of reduce it down to a set of options that I can kind of give to council. And these are, I want to say first that these are kind of broad categories. There may be some different kind of pieces in the middle, but I think it breaks down to four categories. Number one, you can not accept any of the offers that have been tendered, and you can go forward with the public auction as advertised. So that's the status quo option. That's the take no action tonight. That's what will happen if you don't vote for anything. The second option is you could accept the 1.75 million. And in that case, you could decide whether to continue with the auction or have that out there. I think that the reasonable thing to do, or the logistical thing to do, is if you're going to accept the 1.75, since there's going to be an upset bid period triggered by that, is to go ahead and cancel, in effect, the auction. So that's option 2. Option 3, basically the same thing, but the 1.5. With that, if you were going to accept that, my advice would be absolutely you would have to cancel the auction, because by its terms, if the auction begins, then that offer is withdrawn. Option 4 is you could vote to postpone everything until the next council meeting or at such time as council wanted to address it. That's and see what comes in the meantime, I guess. But that's the way I see it. Is continue with things the way they are, accept one of the offers, or postpone everything. And that's really, I think, what it ultimately kind of breaks down to in broad categories.
And I'll just add too that if the council were to accept one of the written proposals, adoption of a resolution would be required, but we cannot start that 10-day clock until the 5% bid deposit is received.
What have we traditionally been doing with bids?
Which tradition? Well, no, and this is, I'll say this, the 5%, these are all set forth by the general statutes. These are not our local options or local considerations. These processes are outlined by state law.
That may have been a council question. And I know we got some young council folks up here, but that's a council question. While they're thinking, I see their wheels turning. Let me ask you another question. How much do we totally owe on the theater period?
As of today, on the 2017A note with Bank of America, the principal, and this is not including any daily interest that would be compounded, or in addition to it, but after we made the payment earlier this month, the principal is $7,638,760. So if we were to request a payoff note, it would be just probably a little bit more than that, based on the daily interest added to it.
Mr. Mayor, if we're through with Mr. Stewart, can I ask
Yeah.
a question to the attorney?
Yes, sir. If we need some more answers from you, we'll hate to make you keep standing up. If you'd like
Okay.
to sit back down.
Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Smith?
I know the 1,500,000, I got some questions on the 175. In the very first column, the mutual extension of the letter of intent, the parties agree to negotiate in good faith binding agreements.
Where are you?
What did it mean by negotiate in good faith?
Where are you?
The very first paragraph.
I'm sorry, in what? In the Victor?
Because I thought this was a definite offer. And that's how much-
Yeah, it's a definite offer. I think what I take that is reference to, as I said, if council accepts this offer, at the end of the upset bid process, if they are still the highest bidder and council accepts that, it's not a done deal at that point. We still have to do a real estate contract. We've got to, ultimately there has to be a deed that kind of gets worked out, and so, there would be some more process to that, but I think that's just general kind of contract language.
And in the second part, it says the parties will negotiate the terms. I thought the terms would be established on the 1.75.
Well, the material term that we would handle tonight, if council chose to do that, would be the purchase price. Certainly on the, whether it's this or even whether it's something that comes out of Gov Deals, there still has to be terms in the final real estate contract that get kind of negotiated back and forth. And what I mean by that is, for instance, everything from like due diligence periods to the, who pays the closing cost, things like that.
All right. In this agreement, it says that the seller, which would be us, would be obligated to pay all of the expenses, it looks like.
They list some transaction costs in there, and then there are others that are, that they bear on the second page, such as title insurance policy, things like that, escrow fees.
Okay.
It does, and
All right, and explain the exclusion part that they got. That's on the third page, I believe, the exclusion part of it.
you're talking about exclusivity. And again, I haven't spent much time with this document, having just
I hadn't either. I just read it tonight when it was put on my desk.
been relatively new to it, so I don't want to tell you wrong. Give me a second. Yes, so what that means is that if, yeah, and so there's, basically what they're talking about is if council were to somehow accept this agreement as it's been presented, and I'm not sure, I don't think that council necessarily can accept those, all of these terms. I mean, functionally, really at this point, you're just talking about, ultimately purchase price, but that talks about if the city accepted the document and then went out and tried to solicit other bids elsewhere or tried to sell it to somebody else in that interim and they were damaged by that, that would be a problem. And like I said, if we did it, if we accept it, and then if they end up paying the requested 5%, then my position is they accept what we have tendered, which is in effect the purchase price, and an agreement on that pursuant to the general statutes, which we're bound by, which is pay the 5% and then go through the upset bid process.
Okay. The next question is,
I think that would violate the upset bid process. I think it's a flip from what you just said. Do you understand?
all right, and the next question is, can council put a stipulation on the purchaser? We accept the first contract that the person brings and forth their money, their 5% deposit, and then the other party will be responsible for the upset bid.
Well, I'm sorry.
Okay. It's 5% of what it's going to sell for, correct? The deposit or secured the bond, what the...
Yeah, so the 5% is determined by 5% of whatever that bid is.
Right, and it's to be paid to the city of Roanoke Rapids.
Yes, correct.
Okay, so
in this context, it wouldn't go through Gov Deals, it would come to us.
okay, so under the contract, the 150, $1,500,000, that'd be a $75,000
Correct,
payment to the city.
correct.
175 would be about 87,000, somewhere along in there.
87.5, I think, yes.
Okay, so can the city stipulate, or the council stipulate, ever which party brings their deposit to them first, then they'll be considered as the person that has a first bid on it, and then the other party has to come back with an upset bid.
Unfortunately, no.
Okay.
I understand now what you're trying to get at. I don't see how that could be effected under the current statutes.
Okay. Question, I'm just,
Yeah, no.
I want my mind clear.
Yeah, it's a good question, and like I say, when we just had one offer, it was certainly maybe a little bit more of a simple kind of thing between the offer and Gov Deals, and now this new one really does kind of make things a little bit more difficult to kind of consider the different pieces of. So,
All right. My understanding, this party, if I remember this guy correctly, it came originally and wanted to owner finance it. So this is going to be under this agreement would be a cash sale. It wouldn't be anything to do with us financing it.
Correct.
And everything.
correct. And as we've discussed before, fortunately or unfortunately, seller financing, city financing is not available for this. The cost would be absurd to the city.
And what length of time do we give these people once we accept one of these offers? What length of time do we give them to put the deposit down?
There's not really anything specific in the statute about that. You could give them, you don't have to give them a specific time. It seems to me they would want to go ahead and get it in so they could trigger the 10-day upset bid process. But you don't have to give them a time, but you could. I will say, especially with this group from New Jersey, there may be some logistical aspects as far as timing. That is, if you said, well, you got to get it in by Wednesday, I don't deal with those kind of logistical issues. I'm not sure about, but I will say the city manager has it's kind of talking about different things that we could do 5 business days or something like that, and by saying business days that would probably put it with the Memorial Day weekend coming up, maybe Tuesday of next week.
So we could say by next council meeting, which would be June 6th.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
And you're talking about the deposit being in,
I'm talking,
the 5%, you're talking about the
Yeah,
5%
talking about
being
5%.
paid.
Yeah, we'll do it.
okay.
It looked like on
On
the,
page, oh, excuse me,
no, go ahead.
on page 4,
Of Victor Enterprises?
confidential, I think this confidential part just means that the council don't go out and solicit.
Yes, and one of the things that we have made clear to everyone, especially, sometimes this group from New Jersey, and sometimes we get maybe offers or interest from people that are not familiar with North Carolina's open government laws. But certainly any kind of proposal that was received by the city would have to come not only to council in open session, not only would it be a public record, but then too, you've probably heard me say it before, one of the things that I was made aware of when I came on as city attorney several years ago was that all discussions regarding the theater will be had in public, and I can say during my tenure that has been the case. There have been no closed sessions on the theater.
Right.
So.
And I just wanted to add on to one more thing here, is that we're not asking, if city council were to consider the offer or proposal from Victor Enterprises, we're not asking for approval of this particular document and its contents. The primary things we're looking at are the purchase price and essentially who it is, and then the details of the upset bid process. But many of these things in here are something that would come into a real estate sales contract. That would be a North Carolina contract either way. So we don't have a contract from the other proposer either. It's just more of a proposal of amounts and timeframes. So that's what we would garner from either one of those in this case, not actually specifically signing on this particular document, but we want to pull out the information that does need to be considered, such as like I said, the price and the other terms.
I don't want to shift gears too much and get away from what we're talking about, but I did want to note that with the GovDeals auction, one of the terms that is built into the auction is that the winning bidder is responsible for all closing costs associated with the purchase, including defiling, etc. And that is a specific term of the GovDeals auction, explicit.
If we do it one of these other offices, we could write that in that if you buy this property.
You could,
I mean,
and there's no obligation on them to accept those terms. So for instance, if we and that's one thing to be aware of is in either of these options. Well, let me be clear. In either of the purchase options, I'm not talking about the auction. So setting the auction aside, in either of the 1.75, the 1.5, if council accepts that one of those tonight, deposit comes in, we go through the upset bid process, end of the upset bid process, council agrees to accept the offer. And then at some point after that process, in the back and forth of working out the real estate contract, the purchaser says, you know what, I'm going to walk away from it. There's really not any consequences we can put on them at this point. Now, once the real estate contract is entered in, and again, that's going to come after council accepts the final bid, after the upset bid process and all of this process. Once they sign that contract, there will be some conditions in that contract, more than likely, as far as if they pull out of it at that point, and what that kind of looks like, just like there is in most real estate contracts. But that's the point where the terms and conditions really become operative. Right now, we're really just talking about the price. Does that?
We can negotiate that at the time.
Correct. But like I say, with that being said, they could pull out before that contract is signed.
So, Mr. Davis, do you see, and I know we only had the Victor Enterprise offer just today, do you see any real differences between the two contracts that we had outside of Gov Deals, other than the price?
I wouldn't call them contracts.
Well,
I would
offers.
call them proposals and letters of intent. And like I say, the only material terms that I would say that council is really considering would be the price, at least at this point, because all those other terms get negotiated out, and like I say, it has to go through the upset bid process.
What happens to the letter of intent if we accept one of them and all of a sudden they back out and the other one walks away? Do we have any recourse?
We really don't. We really don't, because that deposit that they make goes back to them.
The deposit goes back, you say?
Correct. Yes.
No.
Now, like I say, with Gov Deals, there's that's a little bit different. So those fees are going to, in many cases, be forfeited, and I think Mr. Stewart has talked about that. But in this context, they put in a deposit and then they pull out at some point. That deposit goes back to them, and of course, that deposit is a credit to the purchase price. If at the end of the day, the deal closes and they, pay the rest of the money.
Go to page 2 for me on the Victor Enterprise one and look at deposit and let's cover that one for me.
I'm sorry, which one?
Deposit under the Victor Enterprise one.
Yes, again, and there was
Full
language.
execution.
Yes, there was language to this effect in the one that was proposed by Weldon Mills as well back on the 17th. I spoke with Mr. Freeman and Victor Enterprises and said, look, you realize, this is not a possibility here. We can't execute on a letter of intent. The most we can do is agree to accept an offer to purchase and to begin working through this process under the general statutes. You pay the down payment, and that's what this is kind of contemplated, as if you didn't have that whole mandatory down payment kind of aspect. So,
Because it looks like they're saying they were paid $25,000 and it's non-refundable unless canceled pursuant to its terms.
yes, and I'm saying council can't accept
Can't accept
those
that.
terms. Yes.
The general statutes require the 5%.
Okay, do we have any more questions before we try to decide which way we want to move? Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So, both of these different entities that have made an offer to you is because they saw it on Gov Deals. And you've got just two offers. I know they sound good, But wouldn't you like to have 5 or 10 offers? I would submit, give the process a chance and run it through that next 34 days, have them put their bids on there, and we can drive that price up. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Like you said, Mayor, it is different when we have more than one bidding on the theater and actually looking at trying to get the theater. When in reverse, we were looking at it and couldn't get anybody. I will say that it kind of makes sense what Mr. Stewart has said. It also kind of leans to what our tradition is, and I'll say council versus, I asked that question earlier and said there was no tradition, but it is a tradition that we go with highest bidder. That's usually our tradition. We don't always do that, but it's pretty usually what we do. And with a $250,000 difference, if it's, and here's the big if it's a full, and you don't say it wasn't a contract proposal, that's a serious proposal, then I don't see where we would not differ from what we usually do. The part is that we really don't know 100% whether either one of them will go through 100% with what is taking place. But traditionally we usually do the highest bidder. But
and I'll just add too, there's no, without being able to tell the future, we don't know what will happen if council continues to go through with the auction. We don't know if one or both of these parties may submit bids through GovDeals. Clearly, they've expressed some interest. Clearly, they've you know, I hope that they're both acting in good faith. I think that they are, and so, you know, clearly they're willing to commit a substantial amount of funds to this project. And so those are just some thoughts.
So if we have $750,000 as a minimum bid, theoretically, they could buy it for $750,000, or
They could.
we don't have to accept that bid if,
Well, correct.
You know.
Yes. Yeah. So
we
you
don't
know.
have to accept any, even though we have a minimum of $750,000. Is that
So
correct?
yes, you know, in that scenario, you know, if council just said, all right, let's just keep it the way that it was, let's go ahead and begin the auction. At the end of, you know, the auction opens up and, you know, one of these parties says, all right, we'll get them. We'll submit $750,000, and that's it. Well, it's going to go through the process. I doubt I hope that would not be the final bid, but at the end of the day, if that's the bid, if $750,000 was what came out of the final, the GovDeals auction, council could still reject it.
Well,
Which
I
puts
was
us back in the
really
same
thinking
situation.
more like, let's just say that, let's say the 1.5 didn't bid on the auction and the 1.75 bid 1.6. Then, you know, I don't know what we would do then, but that's the way it could work for their benefit.
For whose benefit?
The 1.75 person could have bought it for 1.66
Correct.
or 1.5 or, you know.
Correct, and honestly, I kind of, and maybe, well, I kind of wondered why you would put a second bid out here if you understood that the upset bid process would have to be followed anyway, because, you know, if the council were to tonight accept 1.5, then the statute specifies what your minimum bid has to be under that, and I think it's like hang on, and with the caveat that I have trouble reading out numbers sometimes, would be 1.575. So only $75,000 more. rather than going ahead and bidding it up another $250,000. I don't know why a savvy bidder wouldn't wait for the upset bid process to begin, but, maybe that's the reason I'm not bidding for the theater. That and other reasons.
But my point was, we're taking a chance. We may get a lower bid, and the buyer is getting a quote opportunity to possibly buy it for less.
Yes.
So
I think there are risks with any of the options. We could accept one of the bids tonight, and then they could pull out, and then we're a couple weeks further further behind disposing of this asset. I think Mr. Stewart may have some more input.
oh yes, sir.
Heard you mention, they could get it for $750,000, or because that's the starting bid. We can change that. We can make that whatever you want.
Well, we had some discussion about that, but I don't
sure
really
did.
think that's. I mean, I know your reason. I sold a piece of property on an auction site one time, and everything you said happened.
Yes.
Got a lot of people looking, got different bidders, but you just want to get the competitiveness, as the word you used. You want to get it
Competitive.
being a competitive bid.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So just to put some emphasis on that, in case there's any questions regarding what was just said. So when we did the initial resolution setting up the auction, there was no minimum bid in that resolution by design. And then, so City Council didn't commit itself there to the $750,000 minimum bid. What Mr. Stewart just indicated is that if council decided to continue with the auction and not accept any of these offers, council could indicate to, whether to Mr. Stewart or to the city manager, to indicate to GovDeals to increase the minimum bid up to that amount. So. Sometimes it's good to have options, and sometimes it makes things difficult, right? I see the decision paralysis.
I mean, I know I'm supposed to be the leader up here, but I need some guidance about which way you guys want to go.
Can the auction be stopped at any time on Gov?
Yes.
Even after it's opened it up after the 26th, it still can be dropped?
Yes, sir.
So my recommendation is, let's look at these things good and make a decision on the June 6th at our regular council meeting.
Okay, on June 6th, the auction would it be open for bidding at that time?
Yeah.
Okay, through June the 24th, is that right?
No. So the auction would open on May 25th, and it would close on June 26th.
Okay, so on June 6th, it would be open
Correct.
when we have our meeting. So we could have already received some bids.
That's correct.
And again, just as a reminder, with the 1.5, if the auction begins by its terms, that offer is withdrawn. Okay, now that doesn't mean, I don't know, this group, and I'm talking about the Weldon Mills offer, they may offer something else. They may say, I'm done. We don't have any indication of that, but they did make their offer contingent on that, so.
And I will add too about the GovDeals auction, that if it proceeds as planned right now, on June 26th, I don't think that would be an appropriate measure of its success, because in most auctions that I've paid attention to, I haven't done anything of this magnitude, but I'm a eBay person. You usually wait until closer to the auction closes, and that's really where you see those numbers. The competition taking place is right before the close. So likely on the early morning hours of the 26th, prior to 9 a.m. is when we would see those numbers getting much higher.
Mr. Stewart, would that be a fair statement that the city manager just made and a fair analysis of the situation, given your, I think you said you had 14 years in?
Yes.
Okay.
And that's in almost every auction. For anything, whether it's real estate or equipment surplus, that's the way.
That the distribution of bids that come in are heavily weighted to the close of the auction rather than the beginning of the auction.
Yes.
And I presume that there are some maybe reasons for that not running up the price early, is that?
That is correct. So typically, there are some bids in the beginning of the auction, and then there's a long lull until we get to near the end of the auction, and then they'll start to slowly pick up the speed, and then a lot at the very last moment of the auction.
My question to the attorney and city manager and group, if we decided to go that route, would we have to decline these tonight, these particular offers, and then ask them to go to Gov Deal and put it in? Or could we do that?
The mere fact that you don't accept them in effect declines them. And, certainly I know that, I would reach out to both parties and explain to them whatever council decides tonight. And so, if that is something that if the consensus of council, if that comes, I don't think you need a motion. Certainly the status quo as it is right now. Again, if the council takes no action, if the council just adjourns and everybody goes home and has dinner, the auction continues. It opens up on May 25th. It closes on June 26th. Bids get reported to council. Council accepts the highest bid or rejects all bids. So saying that you wouldn't need a motion for that scenario, if council did say, if the consensus was, well, we like what you're talking about, we like your numbers, we're definitely interested, submit that through Gov Deals.
That's where I was going.
If that's what the consensus of council is, I can say that to them. Now, it seems to me that would be, we're dealing with very sophisticated buyers here in both contexts. It seems to me that would probably go without saying that would be an option available to them, but certainly I would make that personal contact to them and say, look, we're interested, but this is the calculus on it. So,
Mr. Chalker, you've had a lot of experience with the auction business. If you have any comments, not to take anything away from what Mr. Stewart has provided to us, but maybe we hear that from you?
I'd just like to say we've had a very positive experience with Gov Deals with our automobiles and equipment and things such as that. This is a little bit different, or a lot different animal when it comes to that. From a staff perspective, I would just like to make one point to the council, and I've heard a little bit of discussion where we're sort of mixing these two processes together. From a staff standpoint, these are two separate processes. We're either going to take one of these offers tonight and go to a 10-day upset, or we're going to turn them down and we're going to go to Gov Deals. I just don't see how staff could keep up with mixing them together and trying to run subsequent type interactions. And I just wanted to make that point because it's been a lot for us to keep up with today. We had an open house earlier today knowing that we were going to have this meeting tonight, but that open house was already advertised, and so we wanted to do the responsible thing and be there for that. We don't want to do anything to steer you one way or the other. We're going to support whatever the council asks us to do. But I just would request that we don't try to jump in both of these arenas at the same time, because I don't know how we would keep up with that.
I don't think we could.
Was that the open house today with the Gov?
Yes, sir. It was advertised by Gov Deals originally. We said that we agreed to a May 22nd open house, and it was from 9 a.m. until 3 p.m. this afternoon. Yes, sir.
Was it a good turnout?
It was very light turnout, Mayor. We have some in attendance there that showed up today, along with one other party from a different interest. I don't know much about the second one because they came in right at the last minute, but it was very lightly attended today.
let me just parrot something that Mr. Chalker said, and I'm going to and I hope I'm not putting words in the mouth of the city manager. I know that there may be some people that try to read the tea leaves and say, well, you know, you as city attorney or you as city manager or public works director or somebody in city government is trying to swing council one way or the other on any of these things. And I'm here to say that from my part and from the city manager's part, as I understand it, we're not trying to advocate for any of them. We're putting all of the options before you in good faith and letting council make its decision. And, you know, it's again, I'm kind of where the mayor is. I don't envy council's decision because you've got some difficult decisions to make for a property that's been, I hate to say a black eye on the city, but you know, maybe something where there's a lot of public skepticism around it and any action that council takes with it. And so I'll just say, you know, I feel like we've tried to put the information out there, but I want to be clear, you know, we're trying to be fair to everybody involved.
I have a question, Mr. Mayor, for the
Yes, sir.
from .gov. You were telling us earlier about the number of unique hits that this auction had received. I think it was in the thousands.
12,000.
Okay. Is that about what you'd expect, or is that exceptionally high number, or is that low?
Different auctions receive different amounts of interest. You have a very interesting piece of property that a lot of people seem to be interested in. We've done an extensive amount of marketing already in the first 30 days, reaching out to a variety of different venues and sites, emailing previous bidders of real estate property, and we have gotten a tremendous response to come and look at your auctions, as well as a large number of those that have set it as a flag this to follow this auction because they're serious about watching this and wanting to bid on it.
So would that be a high number, you think, for this piece of property?
Yes.
Thank you.
But remember that we had it listed at 750,000 too.
And that's part of the reason we want to get them interested. And, you know, if you had 2 million on it, you might not have gotten that many. But, you know, that we start it low and we let the bidding competition drive that price up. And that's one of the reasons that I am suggesting that you put these two offers or let them know that they can put those two offers online to help drive that price up once the bidding starts.
Now, again, we talked for a half hour about putting a floor or not a floor on it, and we decided not to put a floor on it. So again, even if they wouldn't put this offer out there, can we currently now put a floor on that auction out there?
I'm not sure what.
Putting the floor meaning a minimum bid. In other words, the 750 is way, in my opinion, way low, and I thought it was the last time, but we voted to not put a number on that. So my question now is, could we put a number on that? And even if they don't go out, and if these guys don't go out and put it on there, at least it would show a real legitimate hit.
Okay. Are you asking if we can change that starting amount to 1.2, 1.5?
Or whatever is decided, yes.
You can do whatever you want.
Okay.
And what we mean by there wasn't a minimum threshold set, that was just in the resolution document. So that way when the notice was created on Gov Deals, we talked about $750,000 being the starting bid, but what Mr. Stewart is saying that we can increase that starting bid amount prior to the start of the auction.
That's correct.
And just to be clear too, for everybody, you know, there's nothing that is unusual with that, in that, council accepted the resolution in the general terms, and just like with any of these contexts, there's going to be more specific terms that get kind of worked out, and so like all the stuff in there that we've already kind of quoted about, seller place closing cost, these different percentages and everything, that wasn't in the resolution either, and that's normal in this context. I know council probably knows that, I'm just saying that for the benefit of everybody else.
I'd like to make a comment. This has been quite a process. This is my first term going through dealing with the theater, and again, it's been an experience. I like what GotDove has done. I'm very pleased that there's been some interest. But I also think back to what my grandmother always said to me. A bird in the hand is worth two in the bush. So we've already got an offer of 1.75. Do we know we're going to get that or more? Because if it's not more, why would we take it? So.
I remember the first two auctions we had, we didn't get any bids. And, I'm thinking on this .gov auction, and I really appreciate what they've done. If it doesn't reach 1.75, and we're not able to take these offers, one of these offers tonight, we're going to be looking not real smart. I personally, and I know this is not really a right answer, but if it were my theater, and I guess it is to some degree, I've been paying on it since for 15 years or more. I would sell it. I mean, I would take the offer of 1.75 myself, and it's still subject to an upset bid for 30 days, right?
10-day upset bid
10 days.
period after the receipt of the 5%
Okay.
deposit.
So we're still subject to an upset bid. I would hate mighty bad to walk out of here with no decision and it's withdrawn. I don't know. I feel like, it was a bad investment many years ago, and I think tonight that we've been offered way more than what the first two auctions generated. I would certainly support accepting that and seeing what happens in the 10-day upset bid.
My only concern about now is that, are they going to be developers bidding online? Or is it one of the two people that's putting in a bid? Are they going to try to go out there and develop the property? Or is it just, we're going to still have the theater out there with no development? We have got to get something out there developed. Whether we take a low bid or a high bid, if we got developers that come out there with our tax base, there'll be a big difference even in our tax base. So I think we have to look at it in a lot of different ways.
As far as I know, we
You
don't.
take some criticism, no matter what you do. That's why we're elected officials. If we do take an offer, the highest offer that we have, as Councilman Steinbach said, you'll get, quote, $1.75 million, and you'll get over $100,000 a year off of us in recurring monthly expenses. And we also get tax money on it. So, you can always say what would or could have happened, but at least you're looking at supposedly a bona fide offer to purchase, not a contract, but an offer to purchase. So I'm not saying, we couldn't go a different way, but that is, as Bryant said also, it's a lot of money for somebody to put up. And Not only is it money for us, it takes quite a bit of expense off of us.
I don't disagree with that at all, but my sidebar question again is if we accept the 1.7 tonight, does that conclude the Gov deal, or can that, and I know he said earlier that, we're both going, could that still be something to drive the price of 1.7 up, if necessary?
I believe it would be appropriate to postpone the Gov Deals auction
Okay.
pending any outcome or failure to perform, or if any upset bids come in or whatever. I just feel that you would not want to run the same processes concurrently. Right
Okay.
now, the city council has already approved a resolution, and Gov Deals has done what it needed to do so far, but unless council rescinds that original resolution, Gov Deals is going to keep going, and they're going to start that auction on Thursday morning. So if you do intend to, if you want to consider adopting a resolution tonight for one of the two offers, then after doing so, it would be appropriate to rescind the other resolution and effectively postpone any auction. Gov Deals may decide to, whatever they end up deciding to do with it, but either way, if we were to have to reactivate the auction, or if council wanted to go back that direction in the future, the information is there. Again, procedurally, just stating we don't want to have both at the same time. You would want to choose one or the other so that only one occurs.
All right. I'm ready to make a motion.
Let me ask one more question.
Ready.
If we do Gov Deal, and somebody that's interested in purchasing it maybe want to do so outside of the auction so they wouldn't have to pay the fee, is it legal for us to pay that fee? What I'm thinking is, if we got a $2 million offer, that's $250,000 better than what we've got right now, then 5% would be $100,000, and we ended up with 1.9. Is that?
Are you asking if the city could pay the fee for the buyer?
That
Like
way,
basically-
everybody has a chance to bid on it, and at the end of the bidding, it's over with.
I would offer,
The 1.5, the 1.7, everybody can bid.
well,
I don't think that would be I don't think that you could spend public funds that way.
Okay. Well, to me, that's not spending if you get more money than you would got with
well,
it.
now, if you credit,
I'm thinking from a business standpoint.
if you were to effectively refund it as a credit at the point of sale,
Okay.
that might be a
Well,
different situation, but I don't know that we can really expend public funds for a private real estate transaction in that way. You have information?
Just another thought. So if you decide to rescind and you want us to take it down and you accept that and it goes to the 10-day process, would you put that on Gov Deals?
And that's a question for the city council.
Yes, sir.
But we would want to do one or the other. So you handle your upset bid process either solely through Gov Deals. So if you accept a written proposal and you choose to do the upset bid process via Gov Deals, you'd have it only by Gov Deals, not a combination of interested buyers coming to City Hall and putting down payments, because the Gov Deals online transaction automatically updates. And that's one of the benefits of choosing or going with Gov Deals, is because the city staff would not have to work with deposits and all of that. The transactions could only happen during regular business hours. And so,
Let me ask the city manager a question.
You don't do you do not.
Mr. Mayor, I'm ready for a motion.
I think one was already on,
Sir?
one was already on the table
I
by
think
me.
Mr. Farabee said he was ready a minute ago when I made a comment. Are y'all,
I don't think that there's I know we've been kind of having some kind of crosstalk over here, but I don't know if there's a formal motion out there yet. Is
it's
there?
not one yet.
Okay.
I requested
Mr.
to have,
Farabee had,
I requested to make a motion.
yes, sir. Proceed.
Mayor, Council, I would like to make a motion to accept the $1.7 million offer, postpone gov deal, and rescind the resolution at this time,
1.75.
$1.75 million.
That
I s-
concludes your motion.
And that concludes my motion.
Okay, I guess, motion by Mayor Pro Tem Farabee. There's here a second to the motion,
Second.
second by Councilwoman Bryant. Is there any more discussion on the matter?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I would like to see this postponed until June the 6th meeting so we can further study this stuff and see what happens between now and June. It's only, days of 22nd, there's only a few more days and both parties can wait until June the 6th for us to make a decision on that.
Motion's on the table.
Any more discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All
Aye.
opposed, I'm sorry, all opposed say no.
No,
Motion will be approved. To accept the 1.75. But Councilman Smith voted decline. Negative.
Give us a moment. So, I think, well, hold on one moment.
Y'all okay on the motion, what it said and everything?
Yep, we're going to have to be a little bit more specific, but council, giving its intent there now gives us something that here tonight, in the next couple minutes, we can get you an amended resolution that council can vote on so that we navigate all of this correctly. So if you'll just give us a moment.
Okay, Mr. Smith asked we'd take a short break, 5 minutes. I had to go to bed. think the clerk is working on the resolution, and while she's finishing the details, I'll let the city manager or the city attorney one speak.
So, and now that council has expressed its opinion, we need a little bit more formality with respect to this process as far as the acceptance. And so we're going to, once we get this resolution drafted, it's going to be an amended version of the draft that was presented in your packet, the 2023-05. That's going to be the first thing that we're going to, that's going to be the first motion that we're going to ask you to do, and we'll give you the wording for that in just a second. There is going to be a second motion that we're going to need, and that's going to be the one to rescind 2023.04. That was the resolution authorizing electronic public auction via GovDeals. And so we're in the process of drafting all that, so you'll have it in front of you. Are we?
I have that all as one, so I'm just going to insert.
Okay.
I'm going to tell him to read this and then insert that.
Okay. Well, we may be able to do it all in one. Anyway, once we cover those bases, however we do it will be what's important. I think that works. Let me look at what you've got.
I like that. I probably need to get rid of some of that, maybe.
Consider a motion.
What does he need to say?
Adopt the following amendments. I think it's close enough. I think it's close.
So I'll get that to us.
Yes, I think that's satisfactory.
Because all we're doing is we're just replacing this right here with that offer. And I'll replace that. Wherever it has water meters, we're going to do that. Yes, because this thing is important. Yes, you do. You did say, and trigger our city resolution 2023 for operating
We need a repeat of the motion. In
I wouldn't say maybe a repeat of the motion, but maybe a new motion with that specific language.
a new motion, okay.
Mayor, with
Excuse me a minute, Mayor. If it's a new motion, do we need to retract the old motion?
I don't think so, since there's not going to be anything that's going to be inconsistent with this. This is maybe a more elaborate version.
or with an amendment?
If we want to just be, if we just want to retract it, if that'll make everybody
No, it
satisfied, then.
It wouldn't, really.
Like I say, I don't think there's nothing going to be inconsistent with this motion with the past one, so there's really not any reason to do that. It's really it's more kind of a procedural technicality that really doesn't get us anywhere, if that makes sense.
Could I amend my motion?
You could.
Okay. Mayor, I'd like to amend my motion to read, to adopt resolution number 2023.05 with the following amendments. replaced with purchase amount to 1.75 million submitted by the Victor Enterprise LLC. Offer accepting an offer to purchase city-owned property, partial ID 1205489, and to proceed with the upset bid process under NCGS 160A-269, and hereby rescind resolution number 2023.04 authorizing electronic public auctions by Gov Deals. That's my motion.
Do you hear
My amendment motion.
a second to the motion?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Additional discussion on the matter, again, before we vote on it?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
need to ask council if anybody on council knows anything about Victor Enterprise. The reason I suggested a while ago we postpone it to May the 6th is so we could look up, find out something about Victor Enterprise out of New Jersey. I don't know anything about them. I don't know anything about the gentleman that says he owns it. I would like to have the opportunity as being a council member to find out what type of business this is before we get into a resolution.
Okay, I'll make a comment. I know we're taxed with doing the best job we can for the citizens, and most people would equate that to trying to receive the highest bid, the most amount of dollars that we could receive. We also, have an interest in the concept of what the theater was supposed to be when it originally came. It was supposed to be a anchor for other businesses that would come around it. I don't know legally how much we can ask people about that, but as far as their business plans, but this is a lot of money. It doesn't seem like so much money when you pay $14-15 million for a piece of property and a building, and then you're selling it for a considerably less amount, but it's still a lot of money. And we have no reason to believe that it wouldn't be a contract deemed and executed in a professional way. But on the other hand, we have quite a few people who seem like interested in the property. So I'm going to agree with Mr. Smith on the fact that if we could legally do any more investigating or looking around to see what kind of history a person have, if that is something that we could do, I would just kind of lean that way, because as you said, you hadn't had much time to even look at the contract. I keep calling it a contract, but the offer. Didn't you just say you got it today or yesterday?
This afternoon.
This afternoon. We normally like a little more time than that, so we'd be talking about what, 2 weeks?
Yeah, I don't think we need to do an investigation. I think each council member could go online or something and look at the company to find out what type, what we're dealing with.
But maybe I used the wrong word. Research, maybe not investigation. Yeah. I'm sorry. So,
that's my thought on it. Being a council member, I just like to know what kind of type of company it is.
So this
I mean, we've researched everybody else that's offered to do anything. There's been some research done on them, so.
So this offer of 1.75, that would still be a valid offer if we did wait till the June the 6th? This is not going to expire, is it, if we don't do something tonight, or?
Do we know that?
I don't know. That's what I'm asking.
I mean, I guess they could withdraw it, at any time.
We had the 1.5 million contingent upon the night.
That's right.
So how do you know that the 1.7 is?
You just got it today, didn't you?
But
the 1.7
doesn't make any difference.
Yeah, it really doesn't. I mean, you don't know.
I mean, we always can, if it's legit, we always can come back. See, I believe, and I'm going to say it, I believe the 1.5 contingent upon the night was a stronghold.
I think
Sorry.
1.5 was contingent, it was valid until the online auction started.
Which, to me, is a stronghold. I'm sorry, I just say what I feel.
Anybody else have any discussion before call for a vote? All right, then.
I just had one more question.
Yes, sir.
I am correct that the 1.5 offer is valid until the online auction starts, is that correct?
Correct.
So it would not expire tonight?
And it will be Thursday.
Well, I mean, if the
It'll be
council
Thursday.
adopts the amended resolution, then the law online auction doesn't start.
Right.
But then by adopting that resolution, of course, by taking the 1.75 offer, I think it necessarily rejects the 1.5.
His motion said to rescind that.
Unless you
Yes,
do a
yeah.
separate motion and vote to rescind the online auction
If they're serious, they'll
process.
come back with it, kinda off.
Yeah.
If they're
They
serious.
do have 10 days to come back, right?
Yeah.
From the date
Well,
of receipt.
I'm not totally against, getting a little more information on this group. I mean, I do support his offer, but, I mean, I'm okay with just, waiting to do, a little bit of investigation on, by yourself or on our own, if the other offer's not gonna expire. So if we're not doing the, .gov auction now, then
Do we know if the other offer is going to expire or not?
I mean, it says it will expire the day the online auction starts.
That's the 1.5
How
one.
about
That's
the
correct.
1.75?
The 1.75 didn't say that.
Is that, what you
But do we
probably
know
much
when
about
it will
we know.
expire? We don't know that. We don't know if we don't choose them tonight, whether
Yeah,
they'll take their offer back or not.
Yeah, we don't necessarily know that from the communications that have been made. So,
So, I mean, I kind of go on what Councilman Stanback said earlier. If we go out of here with something less than, and we're talking about 250,000, what do we look like?
Well, when they amended this motion, did that kill the original motion?
No,
no.
that's why I amended it.
Okay, well, you have to
What does
vote.
Robert's Rules of Order say about that?
I knew we were going to get there. We always end up there, don't we?
You have to have a motion and a vote to rescind the motion that was made and passed. So then you have to do a motion vote to rescind the motion that was already voted and then create a new motion to effectively delete the other motion. But what we're saying is that the first motion that was made was in generalities about accepting one offer and rescinding another one, but we need more specifics. And so, but since that one was already voted on and passed, we're asking for additional motions to get more specific about resolution numbers. But the intent was made through the first motion.
I said everything that needed to be said, I just didn't put the numbers in there.
But we actually had to go a little bit further
A little bit further, yeah.
and have the actual resolution documents referenced.
Well, again,
Yeah, but when you amend the motion, you amend the original motion, so how can the original motion stand? I don't think Robert's Rules of Order lets you do that.
There was already a vote, and so the motion passed. And so when you have a new motion, Mayor Pro Tem Fairby had a new motion which, amended or not, prepared the language that was necessary to complete the transaction or the necessary things to move forward with the resolutions to accept the offer and start the upset bid process, and then also rescind the 2023.04 resolution that authorize the Gov Deals auction.
So if we vote now, we just be voting on the rewording that y'all, I mean, we just be voting on what we voted on, it's just been reworded.
Yes, essentially, yes. They're to add more detail to it, but the intent is already there the motion already passed by majority vote to approve the 1.75 offer from Victor Enterprises and then rescind the Gov Deals authorizing resolution. But those resolution numbers were not specifically stated in that original motion, so that's why the second motion is requested after this brief period to take the formal action for adoption of resolution with those specific items stated in there as required by the general statutes.
So,
Can I ask you a question, Mr. Attorney? If we accept this, like it's going on, but in 8-10 days, we find out we don't like what we're reading, hearing, seeing about these, at what point in time do we say, hey, we don't want to continue with this, or can we do that?
so with the qualification that this deals with real estate, and there may be some, when you start to get into, well, we don't like selling it to these people, we want to sell it to these other people, you may get into some fraught kind of equal protection kind of considerations there. But before we kind of open that can of worms, I think the bigger question, the bigger answer to your question, and the main answer is that even after we go through this process, council accepts this tonight, we go through the upset bid process, and whatever comes out of that upset bid process, whether there are no upset bids that come in, and this is the final offer, so to speak, or whether there are upset bids that come in and that comes out as the final highest bid, it still has to come back in front of council for council to accept or reject all bids. Okay? So council still gets an opportunity at some point down the road to truly accept this. That is, you've accepted the offer, but you still get to vote on whether or not you confirm the sale.
Okay, I got you.
Okay, I'm good.
All right, that makes sense, man. Go ahead, then.
Yes,
So
and
you can
there will
vote
be a
on
new
it, and if you
resolution.
find out what you don't like, when it comes down to the landing the plane, so to speak.
You say no. You say don't land.
And like I said, just to echo that before any final decision needs to be made, that you would have to authorize a resolution to enter into actual real estate contracts. But we have to go through an upset bid period first.
I got one more comment. We're talking about $250,000 between two offers right now, if we talking about these two offers. If one of them had, let's just say, I'm just saying, like you say a lot of times, let's just say the one with the lower offer, maybe it was only $50,000 difference, but we were going to take the higher offer. If one of them had a much better business plan, and again, I don't know how much we can know, but it does make a difference to the community. And how this property, it never has fulfilled its goal. And it makes a lot of difference in the taxes and the jobs and all those things versus if somebody buys it and maybe they can't do anything with it or that type of thing. Does that make any sense?
I understand what you're saying, but the general statutes don't really take into account the benefit to the community aspect of things. That is, so, and what I mean specifically by that, and I can kind of illustrate it this way, is regardless of whether, and whether council felt like the 1.5 million, I mean, if let's say you have two offers, because I don't want to talk specifically about these offers when I'm doing hypotheticals, because I don't want that to be construed as any kind of statement about one or the other. But let's say that we had two offers, one for $1 million and one for $2 million. Okay, the $1 million offer, they come to us with a very detailed business plan, incredibly explicit. The $2 million, we don't know who they are. They just basically come and give us an offer. Even if we accept the $1 million, It still goes through the upset bid process, so the 2 million people could come in and bid 2 million in the upset bid process, and then you're right back to the same situation. And then regardless in either situation, it still comes back before council, and then council can choose to accept or reject all bids. And so I just kind of say that to say that if council were to reject a higher bid for whatever reason, when it comes time to the upset bid process, there's no other input in that. It's just a simple financial consideration. Are they going to come in and make a bid at the appropriate amount and pay the 5%? And then if they do that, then that triggers another upset bid process. We go through that until we get the 10-day period ends, and then it comes before council, and it's up to council whether to up or down on that highest bid. So.
And it does say in the general statute that you repeat the procedure until the highest bid is received.
But suppose the highest bid, you've always told us we could reject any and all bids. Suppose the highest bid is not what we want as far as the business, what it's going to do to our community. I mean, you can't.
It's hard to say.
It sounds like you're telling us two different things. If you say we can reject all bids, but we can't select which bid we want.
No, under 160A-269, you are, so it says, this procedure shall be repeated until no further qualifying upset bids are received, at which time council may accept the offer, that being the highest upset bid received, and sell the property to the highest bidder. Council may at any time reject any and all offers. Yes. And so, but like I say, I don't think that if you've got that, I don't think that allows you to, for instance, if you've got a highest bidder, I don't think that allows you to reject the highest bidder and then go with the second highest bidder. Your only ability is to, at the end of this process, is to accept the offer and sell the property to the highest bidder. That's the only sale that you can do. Now, you can reject whatever, but by its operation, if you accept the highest, you're rejecting any and all. But my reading of that is the only authority that you've got is at the end of the upset bid period is if you're going to accept something, you've got to accept the highest bid.
I got one other question, then I'm going to be through. This is a cash offer. Where in the contract does it show where the money is for the cash offer? Where is the money deposited at?
Well, when they have to deposit the down payment or the 5% that goes to the city clerk.
I mean, where they don't say in the contract where they're depositing it at.
What do you mean, the 5%?
Yeah.
No, they have to by statute deposit it with the city clerk. There's no option. They can't affect their acceptance of the city council's acceptance without depositing that.
Okay. All right, that was the last question. Did you ever answer my question on the motion?
Give me your question again. I'm sorry. It's been a long day.
The motion has been amended, so the original motion, since it's amended, does the original motion still stand?
Yes, and so if the amendment fails, okay, so if the amendment fails to be passed, then, council can do ultimately what council does, and then we'll have to figure it out. But what I would suggest at that point, if the amendment fails, I feel like there needs to be some movement on this, because I think the motion that was passed is not effective to do what we needed to do. Okay. So either you amend the current motion, or if that fails, then I think that somebody that was in the prevailing side So Councilman Smith, since you voted no, you wouldn't be able to make a motion to rescind. But somebody that was in the prevailing side could make a motion to rescind the original motion, and then that would have to be voted upon. Or it would have to be seconded and then
It
voted
takes
upon.
2/3 of the council if you rescind the motion. Is that correct?
I'm sorry, I used the word rescind, I meant reconsider. So to rescind is a different procedure. You can make a motion to reconsider something if it's been voted on in the same session. And you're right that a motion to rescind requires 2/3, but a motion to reconsider within the same session only requires it be made by the motion has to be made by somebody who is in the prevailing side on the original motion. But it can be just majority. Sorry.
All right, Mr. Mayor, I call a point of order, then you got a motion and a second on the floor.
No more discussion? Call for a vote now?
Yes, and just to be clear, this is on the motion to amend the original motion that Mayor Pro Tem Furby.
On the resolution, is that correct?
Yes.
You want to read it, clerk, quickly? Or Mr. Furby can read it again, so everybody knows.
My amended motion was to adopt resolution number 2023.05 with the following amendments. Replace with purchase amount to 1.75 million submitted by the Victor Enterprise LLC, accepting an offer to purchase city-owned property, parcel ID 1205489, and to proceed with the upset bid process under NCGS 1608-269, and hereby rescind resolution number 2023.04, authorizing electronic public auction by Gov Deals. That was a reread.
Okay.
And on that, I guess it was a motion and second. Is that right? Okay.
Did we get a second?
Yeah.
Ms. Bryant made the second. All right, no more discussion. I call for a vote at this time. All in favor, signify by raise your hands. Aye. All opposed, no. Motion will be approved. Is there any other business that needs to come here before us tonight? If not, I call for a motion to adjourn. Motion by Councilwoman Bryant and a second by Councilman Smith. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no.